All right, let's go. Go on and hit my theme music. Go on and do my theme music. Let's go. Okay. Anyways, I hope all is well. Thank you for tuning in, and we're gonna get right to it. The other day typically my mind runs so much, so sometimes I fall asleep with talk radio on. Just depends on what it is. Somehow, some way, usually it stays on and goes off and then, stays silent or whatever the case may be until I wake up. Because I typically just do like a podcast or something and then it ends. But then there's sometimes stuff run 24/7 until I stop it when I wake up. But anyways, the point that I'm making is that I heard a phrase, I guess dealing with some professional athletes and how they was acting and how stuff is going on as a whole. But the phrase was, emotional men destroy the earth. Emotional men destroy the earth. And I was just like, That type of statement can be a provocative, generalization. But obviously, in some aspect, there's a deeper truth it can point to, which is when emotion rules without wisdom, restraint, or accountability, destruction follows. So one asks, is that true? Emotional men destroy the earth? To a certain context, but with nuance. It's not emotion itself that's dangerous, but is, watch this, unchecked, undisciplined, or misdirected emotion, especially in those with power, influence, or responsibility. I'm not demonizing emotion. Ultimately, what I want to do here is I want to expose what happens when it leads without discipline. And so it matters in a sense because influence isn't just about what you say. It's about who you are under pressure. Facts. So when it comes to that phrase, emotional men destroy the earth, as I shared a while ago, it's unchecked, ungoverned. I tell people often, the emotions have no sense of direction. So if you don't guide them somewhere, then they get governed by anything, anyone. Let me give you an example. Men who lash out, dominate, manipulate, or crumble due to unhealed wounds or unchecked ego is an example of unchecked, ungoverned emotion. Why? Because emotion that isn't stewarded becomes a weapon. I'm going to say that again. Emotion that isn't stewarded becomes a weapon. That's why, as I shared before, I'm a man of faith. If you don't guide your emotions to God so that He can govern them, something else is. Yeah, that's good stuff. And that's the truth. And that's something that I'm experiencing now, even as a man, because, yeah. And so this is helping me too. So now I want to talk about the consequences of unruled emotions. And you'll find it in personal, cultural, and historical consequences. You look at Hitler, his anger, ego, and different things like that. He wanted to have war. Napoleon, I mean, it was just, it was madness. Why? Because anger typically leads to war and abuse. You find somebody who's full of anger, you're going to find somebody that is an emotional terrorist. They're going to terrorize you to no end. They are. And you'll find some abuse in that too. Then it leads to fear. Fear can be, people that are fearful, you can find them operating in being controlled or cowardice. Typically, you find that in narcissists. Overt narcissists are very controlling. And covert Narcissists, you'll find them being very cowardice. They like to work through other people, get their little minions and different things, do the work for them. They the ringleader and then act like they're a victim. Now, even when you look at fear-driven decisions, if I go back, you'll find that rooted in instability. You'll see men leading from fear rather than faith often make reactive, destructive choices economically, rationally, and politically. Pride often leads to, in the consequence of unruled emotions, you find yourself in isolation and downfall. Now, what I mean by that, in a sense, is pride plus emotion equals chaos. And emotional pride leads to stubbornness, revenge, and division. Then there's another one that I can talk about, which is when woundedness is passed down. That equates to what we see a lot today, generational cycles. Unhealed trauma in men often express itself through violence, neglect, or silence, damaging families and communities. But see, the other side of it, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the other side of it is that emotion is not weakness. Jesus wept. David worshiped with passion. Joseph felt deeply. So the issue isn't emotion. It's whether the man has the character and the maturity to steward his emotion rather than be ruled by them. You look at Proverbs 16:32, it says, better a patient man than a warrior. I'm going to say that again. Better a patient man than a warrior. James 1:20, the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. You find men who are angry, it's a likelihood you will not see righteousness. It may look right in their own eyes, but you won't see the righteousness of God. Now, that brings me to my other point as it relates to emotion versus emotionalism. You want to differentiate, between the two, which is healthy emotional awareness is strength, empathy, and maturity. But on the contrast, toxic emotional impulsiveness, outbursts, fear-based leadership. We see that today. And then ultimately, too, passive aggressiveness. So you have your healthy emotional awareness, which is leading in strength, empathy, and maturity. And then you have toxic emotional impulsiveness, which is emotionalism, and that involves outbursts, fear-based leadership, and passive aggressiveness. I do administration for churches and businesses. I've seen businesses thrive, ministry thrives, and then I've seen the downfall due to emotional maturity. In this case, a lot of it is control. Control. From a leadership standpoint, one of the most vulnerable times in a person's life is during the time of success. And so when you start experiencing success, a lot of stuff will really come up. Unhealed wounds, many things. And if you don't have the ability to steward and handle that, the downfall is soon to come. And so that brings us to the point of wondering, what does real influence look like? Well, it looks like in the way of self-governance, that is, influence. Influence flows from inner stability, not outer vibrato. So most time when you have people that are insecure, they'll be leading from outer vibrato. And typically insecurity typically leads to abuse of power. One mantra I have in life is, in order to instruct, one must construct. In order to instruct, one must construct. Now, what does that mean? Ultimately, that means is that life is about what you can build. That's what it means. It means it's about what you can build. And when you can build it, then what that can do is that you can have an example, you can have something to lead from, and it minimizes hypocrisy, instability. Hypocrisy and all this stuff comes from instability and more so out of vibrato. Loud but not stable. Boisterous but unstable. Even the Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. True leaders don't avoid emotion, they steward it. They steward it. They're responsible to it. They steward it well. They take care of it. They maximize it. It grows. It expands. And so I'm not trying to hit it that people need to be soft, because even though Jesus wept, he flipped tables with purpose. Some issues. Sometimes we just have to sit down and really just think. I'm a core guy. I'm a core guy. So oftentimes one has to really sit down and think about, what is it I'm feeling? Why do I feel the way I feel? And what can I do about it? What are my options? That's why wisdom matters. What is wisdom? Wisdom is simply the experiences of life merged with the knowledge of God. I'm able to see all of these things I've been through through his eyes. Therefore, I can move on what I've learned, what I need to do. What does the saying go? A fool never learns. A smart person learns from their mistakes, and a wise person learns from the mistake of others. Life is not lived unless one is learning. You got to learn. And so that's one method and practical application that one could utilize. But, like I said, I'm talking about men now, but this could go with creatives and entrepreneurs, leaders abroad, men leadership, but just leadership in general. And so ultimately, it's one of these things where you really have to just take time and breathe and woosah and have a level of self-awareness that helps maximize your situation for the good in a positive sense. If you don't lead your emotions, they will lead you to ruin. They'll lead you to ruin. Influence isn't built on passion alone. It's built on principle, self-control, and most importantly, purpose. So ask yourself, even with this segment that I'm dealing with for the men, where do I let my emotions lead without restraint? Do I have the emotional discipline to carry what I'm asking God to give me? It's a good question. So what is the bottom line? The bottom line to this, I wanted to deal with the women, but I'm going to deal with it next week. What is the bottom line to this? Emotional men destroy the earth. It serves as a warning, not against men feeling emotion, but against men lacking emotional mastery. If a man can't regulate his soul, he'll ruin what he was called to rule. But when a man leads with emotion submitted to truth, love, and discipline, he restores the earth. And that is, as they say, that's it and that's all. Hope that's given a perspective and helped. Just wanted to share a little bit of some insight and clarity. He was encouraged. I think next week I'm going to deal with the ladies. I'm going to title this, Emotional Women Shape the Earth. But the question is, how are you shaping it? Yeah, how are you shaping it? It's emotional intelligence that protect purpose. That's the core of all of this. Emotional intelligence protect purpose. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Definitely see you next week. Hope all the ladies join in. And if you have some suggestions or something, hey, send it in the comment. Put it in the comment. I don't mind telling it to the audience per se. But right now, I just want to encourage leaders and those that are leading. God has called everybody to be a leader. One thing about leadership, let me tell you something. It's stuff like this that when you get it, it's those who respond first that are called leaders. That's the difference between leaders and followers. Followers, they'll get it. But leaders, they take this and maximize it. And so for me, this has been encouraging to me because it reminds me to stay the course. And even though emotions are real and life can bring what it can bring, stability matters. And it's emotional intelligence that protects purpose. But all right, people, I see you on the next one. Y'all take it easy. Peace. I'm so grateful. Didn't have to come.